Hello. I won't lie to you, this took several takes. I think it's because I'm not used to talking straight to the camera for a very long time. This is gonna be a Q&A video and I'm actually very excited for it. I love talking. In first grade, when you had green and yellow and red cards, I would very much get a lot of yellow cards because I would never shut up. Talking was my issue in elementary school. That was the thing my parents were trying to fix. I would not stop talking. So I'm gonna try to answer as many questions as I can. Hopefully this video isn't too long, but this is one of my favorite things to do. I love talking. I love talking about myself. I love just talking about my thoughts, and so I tend to ramble. I go on tangent, but I'll try to reel myself back in when I'm going too far off. I made a little sticky of everyone's questions and kind of an outline of how I want to answer. Before I start, I just want to say thank you to everyone who asked me questions. I put a little thing on my story. People actually asked really insightful questions that kind of had me thinking too. When I read them, I was kind of oh, I don't know, and then I had to kind of think about the answer. I'm very excited to dive in. Before I start, let me just introduce myself because I feel I'm kind of relatively new to YouTube. I am relatively new to YouTube. So first things first, my name is Trey. I'm 20 years old. Right now I'm a sophomore studying at the University of California, Berkeley. I'm studying psychology and I'm minoring in creative writing on the pre-med track. Where I'm from, that's kind of a messy story. I was born in Massachusetts, and then I moved to Canada, and then I moved to Texas, and then I moved to Ohio, and then I moved to Arkansas, and then I came here. When people ask me where I'm from, I tend to just say Texas because that's where I lived the longest and where I feel I grew up the most, Let's just dive straight in. This is something people asked a lot, and it's book recommendations. My favorite book of all time, Song of Achilles. This is my favorite book. I've read it twice. The second time I read it, I annotated it. I annotated for fun. Hello? I never annotate books unless I absolutely need to, but Song of Achilles, near and dear to my heart. Please read this at least once in your life. Another book that I love is I love The Book Thief, and the way he writes and the story as well. It's a book that I can't believe I had the luck of getting to read. Another one of my favorite books is The Bell Jar. It actually used to be my favorite book before The Song of Achilles for a good 4 years. But the thing is, I read it when I was in a really dark place in my life, and that book is also a very dark book. At the time that I read it, I really connected with it. It had a huge impact on me, but now when I try to reread it and I'm more mentally stable, it does kind of feel it's dragging me back down there, and I don't ever want to return back to that. It is a very trigger-full book, is all I have to say. Another book I love, Heidi. I read this book maybe in middle school, and it's just a very beautiful, peaceful story that I also love very much. My Brilliant Friend. This is actually a 4-book series. It's actually translated from Italian, I'm pretty sure, and because of that reason, the writing is very unique. It touched on a lot of thoughts that I never wanted to say out loud, but it did say them out loud. Being able to read them and realize that other people also think that way sometimes was so comforting. The way that they word some of the things that they want to say, since it was translated, it's not very common in the English language, so being able to read that was so interesting. I'll just do some honorable mentions here. I love Dragon Slippers. This is a very childish book, Lexile level, I don't know, but very low. But I read this when I was a kid, multiple times. I don't even know how many times I read it. If you have a little sibling or cousin or something, you can have them read it. A series of unfortunate events. There's no book like it. I love how he writes. It's so witty. It's so funny. It's so to the point. And then someone asked about my favorite songs. My favorite song of all time, I would say, is Ultimately by Kai Dreams. I do think maybe I outgrown it a bit because I don't listen to it as much anymore, but that song was a hug to me when I was doing really bad. I also love 2-3 by BTS, Feel the Same by the Millennial Club, Pool by Woods, Flowers by In Love with a Ghost, Nobody by Blue D, Don't Wanna Be Your Girl by Wet, and DLWLRMA by IU. I don't know how to pronounce that. Dolorama. My next question was my favorite Berkeley memory. I ransacked my brain trying to think of these because I have a lot of good memories at Berkeley, but ultimately I think in a few decades when I think back to my time at Berkeley, this is gonna sound weird, but it's just walking around Berkeley alone. Those moments were such an insightful moment for me where I just walk, I listen to music, and I think. Being able to walk around and just see the different people who are also existing alongside me that I have no idea who they are. Just the little small things that I see on my walks. Also after a very long day when I'm walking back from class, my favorite time is around 5 to 7. That's my favorite time to walk when everything is just starting to die down a little bit. I just feel I can breathe. So thank you, Berkeley. Next, I love this question. Whoever asked this, I think this person actually asked a lot of really good questions that I love. My ideal future if money wasn't a problem. I kind of interpreted this question as if money and luck and risk wasn't really in question either. Just if I could do anything I wanted. A creative director for a fashion magazine, coordinating shoots and taking pictures of people and taking videos of people, getting to dress them up and getting to do different backgrounds and different concepts, different looks. I think that would be my ideal dream. Another dream that I have, and the reason why I didn't mention this first course is because I still plan on doing it. I also want to be a kindergarten teacher. I actually taught at this like math tutoring center. I would like love coming to work. Like I love interacting with kids and like teaching them. And I just feel like my personality is kind of like good for like a elementary school teacher. My MBTI. I am an INFP, which basically stands for introvert, intuition, feeling, perception. I don't really understand the personality types really. According to 16 personalities, I'm a mediator. And I guess that kind of makes sense. It checks out. Next question. Something I tried to get into, but I couldn't. This is filmmaking. And I know that that's kind of like weird because I like videography and like taking videos and stuff, but filmmaking in general, like making an actual film with a script and a plot and a storyline is just something I think my brain is just not, it just can't do it. I joined a club my freshman year to make films and I realized like, I don't know, just meeting all those people, I realized I was kind of like out of touch. I didn't really understand different cameras. I didn't really get like shooting different angles and different shots and like writing a script and like how to take a script and like make it into a movie and make it into something like beautiful and something that people want to watch. Maybe it's just because it's something I haven't really practiced that much or I'm just not very comfortable with. Filmmaking, which is something I tried so hard to get into, but I could not do it. I like taking videos of things and I like taking pretty videos, but cinematography, I just don't think I'm the best fit for it. Next question. My top 3 K-dramas. I actually am gonna do my top 5 because I cannot restrict myself to 3. That's too hard for me. My all-time favorite K-drama. This is my favorite K-drama of all time. I've seen it like probably 3 or 4 times. Weightlifting Fairy. I love Weightlifting Fairy. Here's the thing about Weightlifting Fairy. When I first watched it, I did not vibe. Like I was like, it's kind of boring. Like I wasn't really paying attention. I was skipping through it. And then I gave it another try. This is with most K-dramas. You have to get past the first 2 episodes because that's when they're setting it up. Once you're aware of what's happening, as a person that's watched a lot of K-dramas, most like slice of life K-dramas always has to have like kidnapper in it or some type of crime to like make the plot keep going. But Weightlifting Fairy I think is very simple. It dealt with a lot of issues that I don't really see a lot when you as a woman are performing more of a masculine sport like weightlifting and how that can affect you. Just like your relationship with your parents. And also I feel like it's just a show that spoke to me a lot. That show is so comforting to me and it's funny to boot and it has such a cute little romance line as well. My second favorite is Miss Sang. This is an office drama. I actually watched this drama with my family. We would sit up on the sofa every weekend and watch an episode, sometimes 2 if we were feeling it. This drama made my mom cry, which is already a big deal because my mom never cries. She cried at this drama, I think because it reminded her of when she first started working. It's just a very unique drama that also can tug at your emotions and it was done really well and I really love Miss Sang. My third is Our Beloved Summer. I love Our Beloved Summer. It's so unique, it's so refreshing. I love how it was filmed. I love how they dealt with second lead. Like a lot of K-dramas, they paint the second lead to be like a villain or like someone you're not rooting for. But I love how it dealt with when you like someone and they don't like you back and how you deal with that. And some honorable mentions, number 4 and number 5 are Dream High and Reply 1988. Dream High is actually what got me into like K-dramas and like K-pop idols and stuff like that. So it was kind of like what catapulted me. Next question. What are my top 10 loves right now? Number 1 is my family. And I know it's kind of obvious. I know that like it doesn't really need to be said, but recently I really realized how much my family means to me. Just how much I love them, like the magnitude of it. My second is BTS. BTS is always going to be a huge part of my life. And I say this with no embarrassment whatsoever. I used to be very embarrassed. I even got them on my arm. Like they're on my skin forever. Through BTS, I discovered my love for video editing. I discovered my love for writing. I met some of my closest friends that I still talk to this day for like 5 years now. I have this platform because of BTS. Through the people that I've met through BTS, they've offered me so many kind words, so much advice. BTS's music too, the idea of BTS and the concept that they have and the impact that they've had on me, they're just always going to be a thing for me, you know? 3 is writing. I love writing. I'll go into this more because someone asked about it. My 4th is filming and editing on Cami. I just love doing it. Like if I didn't have Cami, I would feel like a chunk of me is missing. I really love getting to put my memories in like a thing that I can rewatch. 5 is avocados. I just bought 20 avocados today. I don't really know how else to define how much I love avocados. I eat them every day. If the world ever was deprived of avocados, if we had apocalypse and we couldn't eat avocados anymore, I really can't tell you if I would survive. 6, I'm a big fan of like big windows nowadays and kind of like how light looks when you reflect through them and how different windows can like manipulate light in a certain way. I discovered this when June posted when he visited this like art thing that was very much based on like space and light. 7 is tree branches. I'm becoming such a big fan of tree branches nowadays. I don't know why. I think because I wrote an essay for one of my classes about what it would be like to be a tree. This is a newfound hobby that I love to do, and it's just sitting outside and doing absolutely nothing. Head empty, no thoughts. Sometimes I people watch. Most of the time I'm literally just looking at stuff and then I'm just like, 9 is nighttime. I took a walk yesterday at night, which I can't really do at Berkeley. It's not very safe, but I kind of took my chances yesterday. And I went for a night walk, and there's just something very, I guess the best word for it would be sobering, when there's no one around. The world seems to be like shut down. Stars are all out, and you just feel very tiny, but in a good way. 10 is nature. I became like very obsessed with nature recently. I'm gonna be real with you. I was not like a nature girl before literally 2 weeks ago. Like I loved nature, yeah, but I was never like, I'm gonna have so much fun going to go look at nature. Like I was just like, okay, like nature's cool. But recently I went to Tahoe and I saw this beautiful view, especially with the snow. Like it gives you like a calmness. I realized that nature can actually be very healing. My next question was, do I have an editing account? No, I do not. I feel like I don't edit frequently enough to make an editing account. I also feel like an editing account would make editing harder for me. Like I feel like there would be an audience that I have to serve with only edits, because nowadays editing is just something I do when I feel a very strong emotion for something and I want to like put that into a physical form. Someone asked my top 5 Viet foods. Number 1, bún bò Huế. I love that food. If I'm feeling like really dumpy, bún bò Huế will fix me right up. It's like my version of chicken noodle soup. My second favorite is bánh cuốn. I love the plain. I don't like it when there's stuff in it. I love it when there's giò. You wrap the giò in the bánh cuốn and then you dip it in nước mắm and then you go. Third is gỏi cuốn. This is like summer rolls. It's basically like the little rice paper rolls with the shrimp in them. I just like how it tastes. 4 is bánh xay. This is one of my childhood foods. It's basically like giò, which is like pork wrapped in like a sticky rice thing, like, and it's like kind of stretchy. It's kind of like mochi, I guess. It's usually surrounded with banana leaf that you can hold the banana leaf so your fingers don't get stuck to the rice. And my favorite is bún chả. Sorry if my pronunciation is off. My Vietnamese is not the best, but I love bún. And when I say bún though, I mean like dry bún, like not in like a soup. Any type of meat is fine as long as there's cucumber, lettuce, avocado, and a little bit of onion. This might be a little controversial to the Vietnamese community. I'm not a big fan of bánh xèo. I'm just not. I just don't really like it. Next, I'm very excited for this question. Any thoughts about like what my next tattoo would be? Honestly, I don't know what I would want my next tattoo to be. I do have a list of things that I do want eventually. I just don't know what I would want to get next because it would depend on the artist, how long I have there, how much it is, you know? I want to get an avocado tattoo. I want to get a bike tattoo. I want to get a tattoo of this very specific Mulan scene when she's hugging her dad at the end of the movie when she comes back home. I love that scene. I want to get my parents' initials, and then I also want to get my grandma's birthday. Those are all the tattoos that I want. The next question was asking about if I was going to study abroad at all. Honestly, right now, my answer is no, just because it's really expensive. I'm an out-of-state student at Berkeley. That's already making a dent in the wallet. I would either want to study in Japan, Korea, or like Italy. I haven't really thought about it a lot because I don't think I'm going to do it. The next question was asking what I love most about writing. I'm really going to have to restrict myself here or I would go on for like probably 30 minutes. What I like about writing is that it's free reign. You can just type and say whatever you want, however you want. And yeah, there are like grammatical rules and stuff, but you don't even really have to follow them. It's a very free way to express yourself and it's not very restrictive. Writing is also a way that I organize my thoughts. It also feels productive, right? Because I get to I'm putting my time into something that is improving my skills. And I also get like a finished product at the end that I can read. And also writing just frees my mind. Basically how I imagine it is like my head is like this bucket full of words, right? They're all jambled and they're all like stacked on top of each other and I can't really read what's going on. But then when I write, it's like I'm pouring it all out and I'm organizing each of the words into where they need to go. And I figure out what is going on in my head, if that makes sense. I also just feel like it's a place where I can get creative. Anything can happen when you write. You have literally no boundaries, which feels very like freeing and exciting. People actually ask me this a lot. I want to make a more in-depth video just about college in general, just like freshman tips and just tips I have for college. They asked, how did I make friends in college and like maintain this sort of social life? I guess the first tip I would say is before you go to college, join all the group chats you can. Join every, like, I wouldn't say every single group chat, but join group chats. Talk to people before you come to college so that when you come to college, you're already familiar with people, right? You get their socials, you kind of know their face. So if you run into them, you can be like, hey, are you so-and-so? I'm so-and-so. Do you remember me from the group chat? And they're like, oh yeah, I remember you. And you spark up a conversation. It also gives you an excuse to hang out with people, get to know people. It's hard to hang out with people if you don't know people. You get what I'm saying? Another tip I have is to meet as many people as you can your freshman year. Freshman year is like free reign for all the freshman students. Everyone's coming in not knowing people. There's no social circles formed yet. Everyone wants to make friends. Everyone's just as desperate as you are to find a community. So freshman Freshman year, meet as many people as you can. Branch out, meet people through people. Freshman year is the year to make friends and meet people, because after that, sophomore year is when social circles start to form and people become less motivated to like reach out and hang out with people that they aren't used to hanging out with. Freshman year is the year to reel it in. If you aren't a freshman, there's also other ways to make friends in older years as well, and that's through joining clubs. Clubs is like the #1 thing I would recommend if you really want to find people. I met a lot of really good people through a club that I'm in, and I'm super close with them now, and I love them to bunches. Love them a lot. And just social media in general, just reach out on social media. Maybe DM them. Do you want to hang out sometime? Do you want to grab lunch sometime? Hey, you're really cool. I think we would be good friends, blah, blah, blah. I reached out to a lot of people my freshman year, and that's actually how I ended up meeting my roommate. You never really know with that type of thing, and it never really hurts, because either they say no and then you're like, okay, you're back to where you started, or they say yes. This person asked, what's my biggest motivation, and if my past self would be surprised at who I am now. I think my biggest motivation, I really had to think about this for a bit, is myself, which sounds weird. Whenever I think of motivation, I need something consistent, because if I lose that motivation, then what am I gonna do? So I need a form of motivation that I know will always be there with me, that will constantly be by my side no matter where I move, no matter where I go, no matter how old I am, and that's myself. I think I'm my biggest motivator. That occurred through a lot of self-reflection and realizing what I want for myself, and I'm the only person who can do those things that I want for myself. I'm the only person who can work towards those things I want for myself. I can tell a bunch of other people this is what I want to do, but I'm the only person that actually does those things and is there. Also, I feel like I know my potential, and I know what I'm good at, and I know what I like to do, and I don't want that to go to waste. I want to like kind of develop it until it becomes something that I can do for the rest of my life, if that makes sense. I also know my own capabilities, and I know when I'm not doing what I'm capable of. And since I'm my biggest motivator, constantly in my head I'm like, hello, you gotta do that thing, and I know you can do it. For what I think my past self would think, this is actually a very good question, and it's something that I think about a lot. There are actually a lot of similarities that I still share with my past self. Sometimes like I'm not even really sure if I've changed at all. There's times where I feel like I'm stuck in like this 16-year-old mindset that I had for myself. It's kind of like I'm walking, but my shoe is stuck in this gum, right? And I can't keep taking a step forward because this like 16-year-old self won't let go of me. I think if anything, my past self might be kind of surprised at my work ethic now. It's not what it used to be in high school. But if anything, I think my past self would be pleasantly surprised. I've become a much more calm person. I used to be very turbulent, very angry, but I've become a lot more calm, and I think I've also just become a better person in general with how I think and how I perceive things and how I interact with other people. I've developed and changed a lot in that aspect. So I think past me would be very happy that I've become this form of myself. And I also think they'd be very happy with the confidence that I've built for myself, because I used to be extremely insecure, and now I've reached a point of security where I really don't think anything could break that, or very few things could break it, which I'm very proud of. It took a very long time. Max asked me this, my favorite type of jacket. When I get very hot, I don't want to bring a jacket, right? Kwong is FaceTiming me. One sec. Hi, Kwang. I'm filming a Q&A video right now. You want to say hi? Hey, I'm Kwang. My favorite type of jacket is a jacket that can keep me warm, but also because I need to take it off when I'm walking. I don't want it to be too heavy or too thick. I also want it loose on my arms. Like I don't want it like very tight around my arms. And I also like it when it's a little long on the arms where I can kind of like hide my hands in them. Also, I want like a cool looking jacket where it's like kind of a statement piece, because a lot of the stuff I wear is kind of basic. Having a jacket that can kind of pull everything together is the type of jacket that I need. So the next question was it difficult growing up Asian American? The neighborhood that I grew up in, there wasn't a lot of Asian people in the neighborhood, so I didn't really interact with a lot of Asian people until my dad introduced us to this Vietnamese church. And that's actually where I met one of my best friends, and also where I started to learn more about being Vietnamese, my culture and my language. And I began to really love being Vietnamese and being Asian. But then I moved to Ohio, and I lived in a very predominantly white neighborhood. There was probably 2 other Asians in my school. I could count how many there were on my fingers. You know, in middle school, kids are mean. There were a lot of little Asian jokes here and there that I pretended didn't affect me because I wanted to be a part of the crowd, and I rejected all forms of Asian identity. I didn't want to use chopsticks in school. I wanted to eat more American foods. I wanted to dress more American, yada yada yada. But then I reached a point where I was like, what am I doing? I love who I am. I'm Asian because of my parents, and I love my parents, and I love the culture and the heritage and everything that comes with being Asian. And now I'm at Berkeley. There's a very Asian dense population here, which is kind of one of the reasons why I chose this school. Every day I'm coming more to terms with who I am. I wouldn't say it was difficult, but I would say that there are some hardships that come with growing up Asian American, especially if you grow up in like a very predominantly white neighborhood. Someone asked what's my go-to boba drink. I don't really drink boba a lot. I've never really been like a boba girl. It never really happened to me. I think it's because I ended up moving to places that didn't really have boba, so I never, you know, had access to it. When I was in Dallas and I would go to boba a lot when we would go Asian grocery shopping, I'd be like, Mom, please, could I get some boba? And I would always get an avocado smoothie with boba. But now when I want a drink, I want it on the lighter side. So now I get just a regular milk tea with boba, but I very rarely get boba. Someone asked, why is Jungkook my bias? Also, I need to put like a limit to myself here, or then I would talk for like 45 minutes. I got into BTS at a very young age, and at the time that I got into BTS, Jungkook was also very young, like he was about like 14, 15. Now being like a fan for like what, like 7, 8 years, it feels like I grew up with him almost. That's just what it feels like. I also really admired how he knew what his dream was and that he actually took the lengths to go chase that dream at such a young age. Another thing I really like about him is like even now when he's at such a high level of fame, every time he performs, he gives it his all. Like it's his last time he's ever gonna be on stage. Maintaining that degree of passion for so long in front of such a large audience. Also his voice, it comforted me a lot when I was in like a really dark time in my life. And also, he's just cute. He's just a cute guy. He has so many little quirks to him. I love him. This is a question I'm really excited to talk about because it's something that I'm still dealing with, but I've learned a lot through my journey, and it's how to be more comfortable in your own skin and your own body and just how to be more confident. The first thing I would say is to go off the path of self-love. Try to think more about self-acceptance because we're all people. We all have bad and good parts of ourselves. You're not going to be able to love some bad parts of yourself. There's parts of me that I'm never going to love, that I really do not like. So now that I'm kind of chasing self-acceptance, I feel more free, and I feel like the journey, it just becomes a lot lighter, and I feel like there's less pressure to love every bit of myself. With self-acceptance, you can focus more on the parts that you do like about yourself. You can think about, how can I hone these to make them even better? How can I develop them? With the bad parts of you, you do need to compact them and just think, can I change any of these? If no, there's no use in putting so much time and energy into something you can't change. Also, realizing that self-acceptance is such a long journey. You may never achieve full self-acceptance. You may always be fighting to feel confident, but it's very much a fake it till you make it standpoint. That's how I started. I just started pretending that I was like the shit, and now I do think that I'm the shit, and I won't even lie to you. It's a very long journey with lots of ups and downs. Once you become more comfortable with those downs, you start to realize, oh, I'm gonna be up soon. What can I learn from this little down? Why do I feel down right now? What can I do to like not feel down later? The only good thing about there being a lot of ups and downs is that you get used to it and you start finding ways to like deal with it. You also have to realize that you're the only person that you're guaranteed to spend a lifetime with. There's no other person in the world that is going to constantly be looking at everything you're seeing, thinking everything you're thinking, feeling everything you're feeling. You are the only person who knows all of those things. And I know a lot of people say this, treat yourself like a friend, but when I think of myself as another entity, as someone who's constantly following me my whole life, I don't want to treat that person terribly. You're gonna be with me the whole time. If that's like what's inevitable, I may as well make the best of it. So it's kind of like, why would you waste your energy and time constantly trying to find ways that you don't like being in your own skin when you could devote that same time and energy just only looking at the good parts of you and the parts that you like? And then here's a little physical, like not mental tip, but take a lot of pictures of yourself. Constantly take selfies until it no longer feels awkward. Once you learn how to look good in photos, you're kind of like, oh, and then you walk around with a bit more confidence. When people compliment you, accept the compliment. Don't be like, no, just be like, thank you. The next question was asking how I got into videography and photography and how you can start. I actually have a kind of a long story for this. So videography, 7th grade, my Washington DC trip, I was in the museum, like a little gift shop with Jane. The song by the Beatles, Here Comes the Sun, was playing over the overhead, and I just felt overwhelming urge. So I was like, Jane, let's make a video edit of our Washington DC trip. So then we just ran around the museum taking dumb little clips of things. That was my first ever vlog. Ever since then, I just want to keep making vlogs of like little trips and little experiences I have, and now I moved on to everyday life. Also, how I got into editing was through BTS. I started making BTS edits. I learned the program, and now I just edit whatever I want to edit. Photography wise, I got a camera my sophomore year of high school. Me and Jane would just do photo shoots all the time. We would constantly planning different concepts we could do, different looks we could do. I would just take a bunch of pictures of her. That just got me a lot of practice with the camera. And then I began taking pictures of other people, just learning how different people react to the camera, how I can manipulate the camera to suit that person. Now that we're bringing this up, I do want to say RIP camera. That's the name of the camera. The camera that I got my sophomore year year is now officially dead. He does not turn on anymore. And just tips on how to start. Honestly, I would just say just start. Just start taking random ass photos of stuff. Make dumb little video projects. Once you start getting more used to it, you become more daring, you become more excited, and you start doing more things. My next question was, would I date a boy version of myself? No. No. I wouldn't date a girl version of myself now. I just do not think that two of me together would be a good thing. I need someone who's the opposite of that. More mellow and can even me out. If there's two of me, there's gonna be a lot of overthinking, a lot of arguing. Someone asked, what do I do to get motivated or to like get in the mood to get focused? Number one thing is study vlogs. Those always motivate me a lot. Showering. Showering is like a blessing from God. Every time I shower, I feel like I've become a new person. Also eating and a cup of coffee. Also leaving my room. I like cannot do work in my room. I need another environment. Another thing is making lists. So yes. Hello. I realized I forgot to film an outro, but I just wanted to say thank you for watching. Thank you to everyone who asked questions. I hope my answers were helpful. And if you need any clarification, just let me know and I'll clarify. Also, I'm very close to 1K. I don't know what I want to do yet for 1K. Thinking definitely deserves celebration. Such a huge milestone and I'm so excited. Thank you to everyone who's watching and everyone who's subscribing, liking, commenting, just interacting with my YouTube at all. I'm hoping to branch out and do different videos. This kind of like introduced me to a different type of video other than a vlog. I hope it was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope listening to me talk for like 20 minutes wasn't too bad. Thank you for watching. See you soon.